I call the Township of Aleppo workshop meeting of December 14th, 2020 to order. Pledge of Allegiance will skip. Roll call, please.
President Jones?
Present.
Vice President Williams?
Present.
Commissioner Dara?
Present.
Commissioner Richard?
Present.
Commissioner Haluka?
Present.
Solicitor Stone?
Present.
And Harlan, would you please announce the recording and the remote meeting and the procedures?
Yeah, as we have over the past couple of months, we are operating under the rules established by the governor and by the Commonwealth under Act 15 that allows the township to conduct its meetings remotely, provided it allows for public participation through some electronic means during the meeting. And it allows us to conduct it remotely or virtually through an authorized form of telecommunications, which Zoom is a recognized or authorized form of telecommunication. We advertised this, we had advertised this months ago when the governor first declared the emergency, and we advertised that we would continue to operate this way as necessary until the emergency order was lifted. So in furtherance of those instructions and that guidance, we can proceed.
Thank you, Harlan. Do I hear a motion to approve the November 16th legislative meeting minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Harlan, would you prefer that we proceed to a motion on the Trapezoana amended conditional or review and update prior?
I don't imagine it matters. You could make the motion and take comment, and at that time you could incorporate public comment at that point from Mr. Carmody or Mr. Zinser.
Okay. Thanks.
Why don't we ask Gwen to read into the meeting minutes, the email she got today, and then we can take comment on that.
Would you like me to read that into the record?
Please.
Okay. We received an email today, December 14th, 2020. It was addressed to the Aleppo Township Board of Commissioners and Gwen Patterson, Township of Aleppo Manager, from Richard T. Trapezoana. There are some questions regarding conditional use of the property at 695 Glen Mitchell Road to the Board of Commissioners and you per my email that I originally sent to you. Does Louis Trapezoana have the right to request conditional use of the property due to the fact that he is not the legal owner? When my father, Louis P. Trapezoana, passed away in June of 1999, 4 days before his death, a deed was created and Michael, Caroline, and Paul Trapezoana were the names that were put on the deed that they were the new owners of the property. Also, it needs to be noted that my father had supposedly had no will or was an estate ever opened in his name to finalize his estate's assets, etc. Deed information for lot and block 422E199 was recorded on July 22nd, 1999. Attorney Vince Ristori also did a deed for an unsubdivided parcel of property with no lot or block number. I have all the documents for review. I have informed you in the past.
Adam Zinser joined the meeting.
I have informed you in the past the back building in the back of the property has been rented throughout the past 20 years by the following businesses: Honda of American, Sewickley Car Store, and Veterans Plumbing currently. Last time I checked with the state, it still shows that my father, Louis P. Trapezoana, as the owner of Louis and Son. Attorney John D'Onofrio was trying to open an estate to make everything legal, but it was stopped by Louis J. Trapezoana when it came to account for my father's assets, etc., at the time of my father's death. Note, all the attorneys that Louis J. Trapezoana has used to avoid opening an estate have been Vince Ristori, John Stavini, Wayne DeLuca, John D'Onofrio, and now Adam Zinser, and none of them have had any success due to the way the fake deeds and estate has been handled. If you have any questions, please advise.
So before we go on, can I put this maybe in some context as to where we left things at the last meeting?
Please,
Before we go on, can somebody identify the person that just entered the meeting?
Yes, this is Adam Zinser, entered the meeting. I apologize. My laptop froze when I was trying to follow the link, so I just used the dial-in.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. So
Very
let me make, before we ask Mr. Carmody or Mr. Zinser to comment on the email, which I assume we want to do, let me make a few comments preliminarily. First of all, as commissioners deciding a conditional use matter, you are sitting in a quasi-judicial capacity, and I think I mentioned that to you last time before you heard the testimony and the evidence in the case. That puts certain restrictions on what you are permitted to consider as evidence in the case, and it does restrict you also as to your ability to go out and visit the property, your ability to talk to people about the property, so that such that your consideration is limited to those matters that are matters of record. The evidence in the case is all you're allowed to consider. The evidence in the case, we closed that hearing at the end of the meeting last month, and we closed the record. At that time, there was testimony and there was evidence which established that Mr. Louis J. Trapezzona was authorized on behalf of Louis and Sons Inc., and we can get into this further, to make the application, and there was a representation by Mr. Zinser and by Mr. Trapezzona under oath that Mr. Trapezzona owned the property or was an owner of the property as far back as 1979. There's nothing in the record that refutes that or disputes in any way with evidence that or suggests that that is not the case. That said, I also want to point out that I have been involved in this matter for years, literally, and I did some of my own independent research over the years, assisted most recently by Mr. Zinser, who has been extremely cooperative. That research indicates that what the email proponent suggests simply is not the case. So, for example, the idea that these were fake deeds or that somehow somehow Louis and Sons Inc. did not acquire this property is simply not the case. The research indicates that there were two deeds, that both of the deeds on their face are perfectly legitimate, and that both deeds were recorded at the time in 1991 in the recorder's office of Allegheny County, sufficient to vest title in the various grantees. The grantee on the one deed was Michael and, I'm sorry, I forget her name, Michael and Carolyn.
Caroline.
Pardon me?
Caroline.
Am I
Oh,
right?
I was just going Caroline.
Caroline, Michael and Caroline are the owners, are the grantees on the one deed, and Louis and Sons Inc. is the grantee on the other deed. So the idea that the deeds are false or somehow title wasn't acquired through the deed or through the deed process is not accurate. As to the other matters, the issue of whether one family member may have been defrauded or deceived by another family member really is a matter for the courts. If there was evidence that this has gone on for at least 5 years that I know of, if the proponent of the email was concerned about the legality of the transaction by which his brother presumes to claim his ownership, then I would have thought that that would have been a matter that would have been brought to the attention before tonight, and also a matter that would have, if it is truly illegal and is truly a fraud or a deceit, would have been brought to either the district attorney's office, would have been mentioned to one of the many attorneys who has represented Mr. Trapezzona over the years, as indicated in the email. But to have that presented to us tonight off the record as part of public comment seems to me to be not appropriate to alter the commissioner's consideration of what's before it. All that said, if you have questions, the email certainly is appropriate as public comment. It should be part of the record of the meeting, although not part of the evidence from the hearing. And I think it is also entirely appropriate that if you have questions, that Mr. Carmody or Mr. Zinser be prepared to address those questions for you as part of the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Harlan. Are there any additional comments?
I have my email open here, so if there's anybody in the public who wants to comment, I have my email open and I'm sitting here checking it live. So as we do in these meetings, people are allowed to chime in and, send me an email. I have not received anything yet.
From the people in attendance representing the current owner and the potential future owner, any additional comments?
No, this is Adam Zinser representing Mr. Trapezzona. I think Harley did an excellent summary in response to this memo. I would simply like to add that in addition to the representations made by myself, by Attorney Stone, we also have an official letter that was forwarded to the township back in August attesting to the actual title owners of the property, certified by the Allegheny County Office of Property Assessment. And I think that that should be more than enough to refute any claims in the memo about wrong ownership. And as Attorney Stone had indicated, any issues that he may have had with the ownership of the property should have been brought to the courts, but that time has long since passed.
Thank you. Any additional comments prior to the motion?
I don't. I think Attorney Stone has reiterated the facts and circumstances and the procedural history and the things that have transpired prior to my involvement. I have nothing further to add.
Thank you.
I have a question, Commissioner Jones, if I might, for Mr. Carmody or for Mr. Zinser before we finish.
Please.
Sure.
So, I'll ask Mr. Carmody first. Mr. Carmody, your client is purchasing this property, is that correct?
He has executed a sales agreement to purchase that property based upon certain conditions.
Is your client satisfied with title ownership being in the grantor and namely Louis and Sons Inc.?
He is.
Has your client, or have you done any independent investigation with respect to the title of the property?
I have done no title work with respect to the property.
Okay. But you are satisfied at this point that you're dealing with the record owner?
I am.
And my question for Mr. Zinser is, on the applications that you filed with the township, you indicated on the application form that the owner of the property was Louis and Sons Inc. Am I correct?
That is correct for the property subject to the conditional use. As the commissioners are aware, there's actually multiple owners. It was a subdivision by deed, but Louis and Sons Inc. is the title owner of the property that we're dealing with for the conditional use application.
And the the application was actually signed by it indicated that Louis and Sons Inc. was one of the owners of that one parcel, but it's signed by Louis J. Trapezzone. Was it Mr. Trapezzone's intention to be signing on behalf of or as an agent or authorized by Louis and Sons Inc.?
Yes, he is a officer of Louis and Sons Inc., and he signed the application as such.
Okay, those are all the questions I have.
Any additional comments before the request for a motion? Do I hear a motion to approve, deny, table the Trapezzano amended conditional use application with the following conditions?
Moved. Harlan, do we need to read each of the enumerated conditions, or can we put the paper with that listed conditions into the record instead?
Well, I think under the circumstances, we need to read that because I think the attorneys representing the applicant would have a right to comment on each one of those.
All right, I'll read. Motion to approve the application to amend the conditional use approval for Trapezzano plan of lots number 4, located at 695 Glen Mitchell Road, located in the Township R-3 Residential Zoning District, subject to the following conditions. 1, the applicant seeks and obtains approval for its subdivision plan for the same property. 2, applicant's continuing compliance with all of those performance standards set forth in the Township of Aleppo zoning ordinance currently drafted and as from time to time amended. 3, applicant's continuing compliance with all Aleppo Township ordinances pertaining to junkyards and junk and abandoned vehicles. 4, any and all unlicensed, unregistered, or abandoned vehicles must be stored at all times inside the existing garages. 5, all vehicles, materials, and equipment related to any of the commercial operations will not be permitted to be parked or stored on or along the shared access drive currently serving the properties. 6, hours of operation for any business or commercial activity on the property shall be limited to the hours of 6:30 a.m. through 7:30 p.m. daily, Monday through Saturday. 7, all deliveries of products, goods, inventory, or other business-related items to the property must be scheduled during the permitted hours of operation. 8, one business sign will be permitted for the commercial garage in compliance with the requirements of the Aleppo Township zoning ordinance as currently drafted and as from time to time amended. 9, applicant's continued compliance with the Aleppo Township stormwater management ordinance as currently drafted and as from time to time amended. 10, continued compliance with all terms and conditions of the original conditional use approval for the property issued in 1979. 11, any and all extensions and/or expansions of any of the buildings or structures or their use beyond this approval will require a new application for the extension or expansion. And 12, applicant's failure to comply with any or all of the conditions of this approval will constitute a violation and may result in the automatic rescission and revocation of the conditional use approval.
That's the motion.
That's the motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do I hear a motion to approve, deny, table the Trapezzano plan of lots number 4 subdivision?
Move that we approve the Trapezzano plan of lots number 4 subdivision plan.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Adam.
Have a good night, everyone.
Will there be a formal written approval of the use with conditions and will be presented at the next meeting? How does that?
No, I'll be sending out a decision letter. This is like any other zoning decision. I'll send out a decision letter. You'll have 30 days to take an appeal to Common Pleas Court if you disagree with any of with the decision or any of the conditions. But you will get a decision letter from me. And technically I'm required to get one out within 24 hours of the decision of the vote under the MPC. I would ask that you and Adam both waive that 24-hour requirement and give me at least 30 days to send you the decision letter. Your 30-day appeal period won't run until you receive the decision letter.
I have no objection to that.
I have no objection either.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Old
No.
business? Oh,
May we leave the workshop?
you certainly may, or you're welcome to stay as well. Either way,
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
gentlemen, ladies. Baby.
Commissioner Williams takes center stage. Old business, the ASO Joint Comprehensive Plan Adoption Resolution. Gwen?
So this coming Thursday, the 17th at 6 p.m. will be the public hearing for the ASO plan, and that has been advertised and is open to any member of the public who wants to hear the presentation and has an opportunity to comment on the ASO Joint Comprehensive Plan. It will be a Zoom event, and I will be sending out the link to both the commissioners and to the Planning Commission probably tomorrow, so that you will have that for Thursday if you wish to participate. And then on this coming Monday, the 21st, you will have in your packets and be asked to approve a resolution accepting the 2020 revision update to the ASO plan. So I don't have the resolution yet, but I was told by the consultant it's pretty much the same as last time. So it's just accepting the plan. And then once that is formally accepted and adopted, then we will move into the zoning ordinance rewrite phase, which is another separate thing. We just needed to get the comp plan done first.
Whoops. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. All right, Gwen, the 2021 millage ordinance.
What you see in your packet is the ordinance that will set the millage for 2021. When you set the real estate tax rate, it needs to be adopted by ordinance, and that was advertised for motion for next week. So that'll be on the legislative agenda. And the millage ordinance and the budget are based on keeping the millage at 3.5 mils for the year 2021. So next week you'll vote on that.
Same with regard to the budget ordinance.
It is the same with the budget ordinance. The next thing on the agenda here, the budget also has to be adopted by ordinance. And so we'll have the same process next week. You'll vote on it next week.
Can't hear you, George.
Yeah, we lost George audio, so. Want to keep going, Dan? Or Art? I can go to the next item on the agenda.
Go ahead.
Board and commission appointments. And that is, we have several people on boards where their terms are expiring. And so we advertised it and we put it on the website, and we asked the people that are currently sitting in those positions if they would like to, they're interested in re-upping their term. So far, we have received letters of interest from 3 of the 4 sitting members on the various boards and commissions. We have not yet received any interest from anyone else in the public. So Harlan, I'll have to ask you, does the board vote on that before the term ends, or do they wait till January to vote on those? If they wait till January, we will have a vacancy on the planning commission. Can they vote at the legislative meeting next week for the new terms to begin January 1st?
Yes.
Okay, we'll put it then. That will be on the agenda for next week as well.
They can vote for the new terms to become effective January 1st. So
Okay,
they just make the effective date after the 1st of the year.
great.
I think I'm back. Is that true?
You are.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Do we have any openings or anticipated openings on any of the boards?
We don't, because the people that are currently sitting have all asked to have expressed an interest to re-up. So there's no seat that is currently unfilled.
Thank you.
All right, moving to new business. The Glenfield Road LLC Burnett subdivision plan. Glenn?
This is a plan that was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. It is fairly simple. It is a property owner on Ferry Road. He has a large parcel, and then he has a smaller parcel, and he's purchasing another smaller parcel from an adjacent property owner, and he wants to combine all of those into one lot, into his large lot. So you will have, I just got the electronic plans for that today, so I will have the plans in your packet for next week, and then this will be on the agenda for a vote to approve a subdivision next week.
Thank you. Any citizen participation that we need to address, Gwen?
I have not received any.
Is there an executive session required, Harlan?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't need one.
Anything else to discuss?
I can make one announcement that we are doing Christmas tree recycling again this year. And so in the next week or so, you'll be getting your red postcard. Looks the same every year. And you can put your Christmas trees out on January 4th by 8 a.m., which is a Monday. And the crews will come around and they collect the trees and mulch them and for use in places throughout the township. And as always, if that is a snow day and the crews they're plowing and they're unable to pick up the trees, we do it on a Monday so that the trees can be taken by Waste Management on Tuesday. So we hope for it. And but if it's a snow day, then the trees will just go with the normal collection on Tuesday.
Judy, do you have any COVID update?
I do not. We're holding at 7 active, I believe, and 4 outstanding tests. It's actually pretty stable, pretty whatever. Are your dining rooms open or closed?
Closed as of yesterday.
Okay, thank you. Because as of Friday, they were open to visitors, which was a little concerning to me.
Yeah. Well, that was a special request, I guess, and the people were checked out, so we felt that it could be done.
No, I had my neighbor meeting people for lunch in your grill.
Well, it's closed altogether.
Okay.
Judy, is it appropriate to discuss the member of our family?
Are we off public, Dave?
No.
Not.
Then no.
Okay, good.
Wait until we adjourn the meeting.
Any other discussion?
Before we log off, I'd just like to acknowledge our fire department, or AKA Santa Claus, for the very nice job they did this weekend. So visiting all of the kids. So they did a very nice job as always.
That they did. Any other comments? Then the meeting is adjourned.
Dave, let me know when we're off.